All right. Today is what day is it today? September 15th. This is my review for September 15th, 2025. This was a short session. I hope they're all short, but this one particularly because it's at the close. Now, um, my trading primarily revolves around the open. Um, I work a full-time job, which means that on days where I can trade, it's usually because I'm working at night, and I have the opportunity to trade before I go to work. Just gonna have to change the currency. Purdue ticks total. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so I trade before I go to work, generally speaking. Um, there have been times in the past where I've experimented with trading after I get home from work. So on days where I open at work, and I work the morning shift, and then I get home at usually like 2 to 3 p.m., and I can trade into the close rather. Um, I've experimented with that in the past. The only outlying factor, the reason why I stopped doing it for a long time is because there's not enough time for me to prep. That's the biggest concern. The second concern is mental fatigue. I have a fairly mentally demanding job. Some days are super mentally demanding. Some days are not even slightly mentally demanding. So it kind of depends on the type of day I've had. There's some days where I get home and I'm just exhausted, and if I try to trade, which I have in the past, um, I usually get burned. I get burned pretty bad because I'm not all there. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Um, Another factor is that I'm just kind of trying to push stuff. I'm trying to force trades, because I only have a certain amount of time to trade. Um, I'm probably impatient just because I spent all day at work thinking about trading. I just want to come home, put some trades on, click some buttons, make money, whatever. And just toxic trading um, thoughts. So for the longest time, I have not been doing it. Um, this month is a different month than prior months because I have a strict system that I'm following as far as how much time I'm allowed to trade, and the answer to that is 1 hour. I only allow myself to trade for 1 hour each day, plus 1 hour of review. The process behind that is if I'm limiting myself to only 1 hour, it's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to prevent me from um, staying too long. And when I stay too long, I either overtrade because I'm sitting at the desk, I'm fatigued, I've been trading for 2 3 hours. Maybe I'm down on the day and I'm trying to revenge trade back to break even, or I'm pushing trades because I know I have to work later and I'm impatient. And two, it also just allows me to live my life because there have been so many days in the past where I'll sit down and trade for 2 to 3 hours, and maybe I even have a good day, but I have to work in an hour. I've just completely eaten up all my free time in the day. Now I have to go work. And when I get off work, it's like 10 p.m. I have to go to bed. So that's my entire day, essentially. Um, I don't really want to do that. There's things that I need to do every day. Um, there's things that I want to do every day in order of importance, probably like keeping a clean house, making healthy meals for myself and my wife, and exercising. Those are the things I need to do. I would like to maybe play video games once in a while, but I get that that's you know that's a luxury. and if I'm committing to this as if it's a career, playing video games during my free time is a luxury. Now, back to trading the close. Because this month I am sticking to a strict regimen about trading 1 hour each day, I figured I can probably afford to come home from work and trade the close as long as I have an hour. I think if it's less than an hour, I'm going to be in trouble and I'm going to start forcing trades. And obviously, if it's longer than an hour, then we, start committing the sins that I just talked about. Um, I'm still up in the air about it, especially after this session, because I came home from work. Um, I had an hour to trade. I, I think I booted up at 3 o'clock on the dot. Um, but I pretty much jumped into it. And you can see on the screen here, I had, what is that, 4 consecutive losing trades. I think that's a pretty obvious sign of lack of patience. Add to the fact that I didn't really pulse check enough. I think I pulse checked one trade. It wasn't even a good one, I don't think. I think as I'm talking through this, the evidence is clear that I should not be trading after work. I think there's just way too much risk. I mean, like, I can be fatigued, but lying to myself, telling myself I'm not fatigued. On those days where I do come home from work, I mean, there's other shit I could be doing. Like I could even be doing shit I want to do. And I think trading, it's costing me a lot of time, and it's could be potentially costing me money if I'm not in the perfect headspace. So I'm going to jump into this review. I suspect my conclusion at the end of it is going to be that I should not be trading the close. I don't think it's worth it. So let's jump into the trades. I'm going to start with trade number 1, which was a 5-tick loss to the long side. Let's go ahead and watch it here. I do try to do a good job of narrating while I'm trading, even if I'm trading by myself. However, in this instance, I forgot to sync my microphone. So I was narrating to myself, but it was not recorded, unfortunately. So, pretty quick loss. I already know this is going to be a red star. The biggest, most obvious reason why it's a red star is because we just have there's going to be 2 reasons. The first reason is we have all of these buy order blocks below us. And what that signifies is just that there was a lot of buyers on the way up. Those buyers have probably taken profit already or are exhausted, and price is very likely, according to my experience, the price is very likely to retrace and to go back to these order blocks. If anything, I should probably be short here. I did have a short idea up at like 13s, way up here, that could have worked. But I think I was just pushing trades at this point. Number 2 is I was on the wrong contract here. So you can see I was on U25, which I believe is September expiration, and this is September. Today was rollover day, and we had rolled over to Z25, I believe. which is December contract. My DOM is displaying December contract. You can see that the current price on the DOM is like 67.75, but on the chart it's 10. So there's 50 points between where I'm trading on the DOM and what the chart is displaying. So in essence, I was trading blind. I didn't realize it. In my defense, Sierra chart on my DOM on my execution instance popped up with perform futures rollover. So I performed a futures rollover on my execution. On my chart instance, that never popped up. That's kind of an excuse, because as a trader and because this is my business, I should be taking this seriously and I should be double checking all of this shit. It didn't strike me until after this trade that I had not performed a futures rollover. So this is going to be a red star trade. Factors of support, I don't think I had anything. I really think this trade was rushed, guys. Yeah. Unfortunately, I just had nothing. So no factors of support. I had a lot of things going against me. I had a big order block and normal order blocks against me. I had nothing in my favor. I also had the range against me. I think yesterday was a range day, and I was trying to go long near the top of the range. So a lot of stuff against me. Approach. This was a pretty aggressive scalp. Because it's a red star trade, that automatically means it was an F setup. So I'm not going to tag any setups. This was a risk off environment. So I talked about this last week. If I'm aggressive in a risk off environment, something is horribly wrong. I should not be aggressive in a risk off environment. The reason why yesterday was risk off, I can go back to the daily chart. I think that's the daily. Yeah, I can go back to the daily chart here. Is because yesterday we closed red. I would have liked to see us for the bear thesis. I would have liked to see us accept below the previous low, and for the bull thesis, I would have liked to see us breach previous low and then accept back above. And we did neither of those things. So because we did neither of those things, it is a risk off environment. I do not have a bias. Mistakes. I was missing context. I was impulsive. And I was technically against my bias because I was supposed to be risk off today, and this was an aggressive trade. My market read was confused. I didn't have clarity here. I was maybe calm, maybe content. I don't think I was completely content because I'm getting home from work and I want to trade. And I was impatient. I was definitely impatient. I wanted to come home and trade at this moment. So I think we're off to a pretty bad start here. Trade number 2 is a 2-tick loss to the short side. So it looks like a flip hit here. Looks like I flipped biases. And this trade did not work out for me. So let's see why. It looks like I have started, to my credit, I have started taking into account the fact that we have buy blocks below us, and I'm trying to short into those buy blocks. However, there's there's no for one, there's no big buy blocks, and that's not necessarily a problem. I think those small buy blocks are still edge worthy. However, I don't really have anything else working for me. I don't have any 30-second order blocks. I don't have any price action setups. I don't have a bias on the daily chart. So, and it looks like I'm still on the old contracts at this point. So I have not switched over to the new contracts. I think I'm going to realize that here after this trade. So there's definitely some things going wrong here. Let's watch the trade play out. It touches my stop, so that could have been a 5-tick loss, but I think I see it's kind of bouncing around too much here, and I eventually realized, all right, I'm just gonna take this off. And in fairness, it would have came and stopped me out. As is usually the case with trading, my stop would have been a perfect entry because then the setup went on to work. So trade number 2 is going to be a yellow star trade. I'm going to give myself a little credit because at least I started paying attention to what the charts are telling me. I had small order blocks in my favor and I had range favor, but I think that's it. I think there's some things that I'm ignoring here. There's a top tick above us. Or actually, that top tick is in our favor. It's short here. Let me go mark that on the last trade too. Top tick in our favor. It could be setting up for a V flush, so I'm going to tag this V flush against, because if it V flushes here, then it's going to come against me if I'm short. My entry was early, but my exit was good. I'm really glad I took this off for a 2-tick loss instead of holding it. It was also a flip hit trade. This was more conservative. This was a conservative scalp. I'm going to call this like a C setup. I don't think there was a whole lot working for me here. Risk off. I was kind of slip mid on my entry. Actually, no, I'll do slip favor because it did pull back quite a few ticks for my entry. My market read was in between. I was neither clear nor confused. It was somewhere in the middle. Maybe calm, maybe content, and maybe patient. I'm showing signs of improvement here. This is a rare case where somebody starts their session off horribly and then they kind of recoup it. They recoup their mental facilities and they end up having a decent session. Doesn't happen often. Usually it's the other way around. You start off good, you're hitting some good wins, and then after the fatigue sets in, you start, snowballing. But in this case, I did actually manage to come back at the end. And that's the thing that I'm realizing about trading is when you sit down at the desk, even if it's late in the afternoon, it can be you can start trading at any time of the day. It doesn't matter if it's first thing in the morning, right before bed. Trading is almost like working out, especially scalping like this, high frequency scalping. It's so mentally taxing. Um, you're essentially working out your brain. It's a workout. It's like stamina. You're using your mental stamina. And one thing I've come to realize about like physically working out lately when I'm lifting weights is you have to do your warm up. You cannot just sit down and rack fucking your max PR and jump right into lifting. You need a warm up. You need to start with lighter weights. You need to do like your full range of movement. You need to hit smaller reps with that muscle group to get the blood flowing and to warm up, to literally warm up those muscles, to get some body heat into those muscles um, before you even attempt hitting any heavy weight. I think the same can be said for trading. I think you need to sit down and you need to warm up. You need to warm up your brain, specifically for trading. Like if you if you think you have a really mentally taxing job and you're around numbers all day and then you're like, oh, trading's no problem. The problem is your brain has just spent all day focusing on one mentally taxing thing and now you're switching over to another mentally taxing thing. They're two different things. It's like if like if you went for a run before you worked out and then you said, "Okay, I'm ready to lift my PR." No, you have to work that specific muscle group before you can lift heavy weight. It's no different than trading. You have to sit down and you have to warm up your brain for trading before you actually risk money. And I don't think I did that today. But what's interesting is you can see it represented in my trades. You can see my brain warming up and I'm starting to take in more information. I'm starting to pay attention and I'm starting to realize things. Because my first trade of the day, I just sat down and traded and my mental awareness was horrible, but it warms up over time and over the session, over what, 16, 17 minutes, you can see that I have warmed up to it and I am paying attention and I am, trading properly. I think that's why pulse checking is so important. You sit down at the desk and you take mental trades to try and warm up. You're warming up that muscle. You're warming up your brain function to to trading. I think it's so important, and today just goes to show why. So, um, with that in mind, let's move on to the next trade. Trade number 3 is a 3-tick loss to the long side. I've switched over contracts, and you can see the chart looks completely different. When I switched contracts, I started noticing order blocks above us, potential targets. There's a pretty solid one. I also realized that had I been on the right contract, and this is so important, had I been on the right contract, I would have noticed that this pullback was a excellent, excellent long. It was just screaming long because we had four, um, four green order blocks in a row on the 30-second chart. That is just screaming reclaim. So this would have been an excellent, excellent setup had I been paying attention to it, had I been on the right contract, which is really unfortunate. Anyways, this is a long trade. I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to catch the breakout. There's a pretty clearly defined resistance level here at 71s. It's the same level that we had top ticked earlier. Now we've already breached it by 3 ticks, and now we're pulling back. I'm trying to catch the pullback. The problem with catching pullbacks is you might just be, one, you're chasing. The move is probably already gone. And two, it might just be a liquidity grab, and now you're catching a knife. And I think that's what ends up happening. I think I catch a knife here. So let's watch it play out. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Yeah, it's clearly a liquidity grab, and it comes right back down on me. This one's going to be yellow star. Just to give myself a little credit, I am trying to pay attention, and it was a half decent setup. I do have a big order block in my favor. And I have a couple smaller order blocks in my favor, but they're so old. I try not to rely on the old ones. Maybe I will just tag it just for the sake of having it there. But I also have some smaller ones against me. I do not have any big order blocks against me though, which is good. I do have V flush favor. We did end up V flushing, but you'll see that it's actually going to come back against me. And we have top tick against me because we're top ticking again and coming back down. I think that's it for technical tags. Entry late and exit late. It came back and hit my stop. I wish I got out of it a little soon. Actually, no, I took a 3 tick loss, so my entry was pretty good here. Again, this really sucks, but this was an aggressive trade. I'm chasing a move essentially. This was an aggressive scalp. C setup. Just, yeah, I don't see a lot going on here. Risk off. This is chasing. I'm gonna tag this as a chasing trade. And I'm also against my bias because I'm aggressive in a risk off environment. Slip, I didn't really have any slip favor. My market read is in between. I don't really think I'm confused here. I do have a pretty decent idea, but it's that execution of the idea that's off. Maybe calm, maybe content, and maybe patient. All right, trade number 4 is a 5-tick loss to the long side. Let's watch the replay. This one's a little better. We do have a pretty big order block above us on the 30-second and the 3-second. The problem is we just have so many order blocks below us still. I would really like to see those invalidated, and I think I point that out during the narration. The unfortunate thing is I just don't have that narration because I was not recording my voice. So it comes down pretty quick and takes out my stop. What's interesting though is this move that took my stop is starting to set up for something really interesting. But we'll get to that in the next trade. This one was a bit better. I did have a big order block in my favor. I didn't really have any small order blocks though. I had a top tick against me. I also had some smaller order blocks against me. And that's kind of it. My entry was a little early and my exit was late, unfortunately. This was pretty conservative because I am at least waiting for some sort of pullback before I get in. But it was impulsive. I'm going to tag the mistake as impulsive. This was a C setup, risk off environment. No slip favor. My market read was still in between. I think my calmness is improving at this point. I think I am calm. I'm warming up. Like same with emotions. We just talked about how like the mental demand of trading is so high that you need to warm up to it, but so is the emotional demand. I think you just need to warm up to the fact that your emotions are going to be tested while you're trading. I'm going to put maybe content. I don't think I'm fully content with where my P&L is right now. I'm going to say I am patient though. I'm pretty good on patience at this point. I did wait for something to set up after my last trade. I'm not just fucking jumping in the trades. I'm going to yellow star this one. I think there's a lot of mistakes that I made here, but it's not a horrible. I can see at least why I did it. Now let's jump into trade number 5. This was a 9-tick win on a 2 lot. So 18 ticks technically because I had doubled my size from the first couple trades, and you'll see why in the replay. So we have this buy side order block at 58. And that was kind of a thorn in my side this entire time because every time I had taken a long trade, there was an order block below me, and pretty close below me too. Not something that happened hours ago. It was only 5-10 minutes ago that we printed this order block. So there's an outstanding order here. In theory, he could have exited. I'm not saying that delta is factual, but for the sake of volume analysis, somebody went long at the bottom of this move, and they, again, in theory, held the entire time up. And now price is retracing. So prices came back and retraced that order to the tick, I might add. So that order block is at 68 even. We touch 68 even by 1 tick, and that's good enough. We don't have to trade right through it. I just want to see us invalidate it, and it can be by 1 tick. I don't care. We've invalidated it. That is no longer a factor. So now there's virtually nothing on my backside. There you can see that there is one more buy block down here on my backside, but that's so old that I would consider that stale. It's a stale order. If it was a bright green order block, that might be different, but considering that it's a light, a small order block, I don't even consider it because it's so old. It's stale information. Fresh information is that there is a big sell side order block above us, and not that far away. It's at 71s, and that was printed just like 2-3 minutes ago. So there's a big seller up there that I want to fade. We have 4 consecutive, almost 5 consecutive small sell side order blocks right above us, like a reclaim, like a clear reclaim with selling. So in my mind, sellers have piled into this move because they think we've rejected the resistance. We think we're gonna pull back to low of day. So a bunch of sellers have gotten in on this move. One might argue too many sellers. We even have some big selling at the very bottom. So this is a very sell heavy move. But it looks like we're setting up for a higher high. So this is going to be the second, or sorry, higher low. This is going to be the second higher low. This is so sell heavy that I think it's a no-brainer. We're gonna fuck these sellers because that's what the market does. The market is, it'll come and stop out the longs, and then it'll switch sides and stop out the shorts. And that's why ES is so hard to trade. That's why 90% of people who trade ES can't do it. It's because it's so predatory. And right now, I am the predator. I can see where these orders are coming in, and I can prey on them. And that's exactly what I did. And this was such a good setup for me that I took it with double the size that I usually would. Now we'll jump into that after we watch the recording, whether or not that was a good idea. I think it was, but let's see how the trade played out. So I place the order there. I get filled. I take 1 tick of drawdown, I think. Then it starts going in my favor, and we're grinding on virtually no volume right now, which is good. I like it when we drift. It's I call it a spoof drift. It's where the market just has no volume and it's just drifting in one direction. And that looks like that's what it's doing here. So it does play with my entry a little bit, which is a little worrying, but then we just get one big volume spike upwards. Now, what I will point out is that what's concerning about a volume spike is now I have order blocks on my backside. I have like 2 or 3 pretty big buy side order blocks behind me, which is technically an exit signal. It means like, hey, we're probably going to retrace those. The good news is that even if we do retrace those, it's still going to be above my entry, so I can hold. And actually, I want it to retrace because if we pull back, retrace, and then move higher, that just means that this is a validated move, and if anything, it's going to add confirmation. So we retrace the big one. There's still a small order block behind me, but the big one, the big buy side order block, just got retraced and invalidated, so I no longer have to worry about that. Now, my original idea was to take one lot off at the top of the small order blocks. So it looks like 70, 25. I wanted to take half the size off, half profit. So I join the queue and I'm waiting to get filled, but it doesn't fill me and it actually ends up pulling back pretty significantly if I remember correctly. So I pull the order. The reason why I pulled the order is because we're not failing here. We technically failed it by 1 tick. We came up and tested it, and now we pulled back 2 or 3 ticks. But we're not rejecting. We're kind of consolidating up here. And if this 70-25 level is acting as a micro resistance, like a very, very small time frame resistance, then we're probably going to consolidate into it. Now, this is a lot to take away from micro price action because you shouldn't read into it too much. it is micro after all. But it was enough confirmation for me to want to hold those two lots. And the target I'm looking for is 71, where we see that big sell side order block. So just as I had planned, we go through 70.25. We're accepting above it. We touch 71, and I join the queue. I join the queue, and I get filled. Both lots taken off at 71. If I fast forward, we did go a little higher, but not by much, like 2 ticks, and then I think the move is over. So, I mean, what an incredible trade. I really, really liked that one. I will go ahead and screenshot it. Excellent, excellent setup. So, let me narrate my trade first. $30. It's supposed to be yellow. 30-second. Plus 9 ticks long. So again, this was 9 ticks of profit, but on a 2 lot, so technically 18 ticks of profit. My entry was almost perfect, I would say. It's right here, I believe. And then my exit was right here. I don't think it could have been better. I think this was perfect execution. So let's go over precedents. I think there's only one, unfortunately, but it is a good one. So precedence of these higher time frame order blocks getting taken back. The two, actually. Order blocks. Okay. So, just to recap, we have multiple sell side order blocks on the 30-second chart. Um, and there is only one instance of precedence, but it's that one is all I need. I know they have at least taken these back once in the session. So there's a pretty good chance that they're going to take the other ones back. They're also fresh. They're very fresh. They were just printed moments ago, and when when they're fresh, they hold more the validity. There's an old one that I could have held into, like if I was an idiot and I wanted to hold this trade for even more. The problem with that is it's old. It's stale information. That seller that was back there it could be gone by now. He could have taken profit anywhere down here. The fact that it's so fresh and these orders hit the market just seconds ago means that the chances are these participants are still in the market. They haven't exited their position, which means they're probably going to get faded. They're gonna get squeezed, especially considering the fact that throughout the entire day we've had moves that have gone up and down and up and down, and it's kind of a range day, and we're slip ranging up and then we'll slip range down. This move down, this most recent move down, was only selling. There's not one buy side candle in this entire move, at least on the 30-second, which means it's sell heavy. There's too many sellers here. It's kind of an easy target. It's easy prey. We also invalidated that most recent buy side order. So there's one buy side on my backside that we came down and invalidated, and we ended up taking him out before we went higher. Let's tag it. So I had big order blocks in my favor. I had small order blocks in my favor. I only had at the time of entry, I only had small order blocks against me. Not even, because if this is stale data, if this is a stale order back here, then I'm not even gonna tag that. We technically were against a top tick. We had top ticked just a couple minutes ago. I would call this V flush favor because we V'd down so fast and flushed back upwards. It was also range favor. Considering this range now, which I would, we were pretty much at the low of the range. I think that's it. Multiple factors of support. Yeah. Entry good, exit good. This was technically a try too, since my last one was long, but this is way better than the last one. This was a conservative. I'm gonna call it a move to move, since I did have a clear target in mind that I wanted to hold to. And I'll call this an A plus. Risk off. No mistakes. I did have slip favor on this entry. That was clear. This was my only trade where I had absolute clarity. I was calm. I'm gonna put maybe content because I am down on the day. One might argue that this was a revenge trade, and that is kind of true, in that I was down on the day pretty significantly. If this trade would have not worked, I would have probably hit my risk tolerance for the day, and I would have had to walk away. But if it didn't work, that's not a bad thing. It was an excellent setup, and I'm so glad I took it. And my patience was good here. I think my patience was pretty solid. And this will be a green star trade. My only green star of the day. I think my patience was good because I did wait for that level to be invalidated, and if it didn't, I would not have taken this trade. I needed that level to be invalidated first. And that's exactly what happened. It came down and validated it by one tick, and then I basically jumped in, and I even chased the bid by a couple ticks, I think. Maybe by one tick. I'm not sure, but I wanted to get in this position because I knew what I had. I knew that this was a great setup. So let me review my daily report card here. So my just to review, my goal for the long term is to do a better job of narrating and building a story. I don't think I did an amazing job of that today, especially because I made a couple mistakes. One, I forgot to roll over my contract. Two, I forgot to record my audio, which kind of set me back a little bit. So I literally don't have my narration recorded, but I was narrating. I was talking to myself. I was trying to explain setups. I just wasn't doing a great job of it because I was rushing into the session. I don't think I should have traded after work. But I did still do it. I didn't just sit down and silently press buttons like I usually do. I was talking and trying to run through the processes. I just wasn't very good at it today, probably because of mental fatigue from work and stuff like that. My easiest trade obviously is going to be my last one. It wasn't necessarily easy. It did require a lot of conviction to hold that far. That is an outlier trade in my opinion, holding for 9 ticks. But regardless of that, the fact that I got in, ate one tick of drawdown, and then it glided. It just floated in my favor. It was so easy. things I did good. I think I did a pretty good job of while I was consistently unprofitable for the first few trades, I was still consistent. Um, that's kind of something I've been struggling with over the last couple months is there's a difference between consistent and consistently profitable. They're two different things. Just because you're consistent does not automatically mean that you're profitable. And just because you're profitable does not automatically mean that you're consistent. They're two different things. And while I was unprofitable for the first four trades, they were still pretty consistent trades. My risk was consistently 5 ticks or less, you know. Um, you can also see how I slowly improved over the day. Like my first trade was a horrible red star trade with no factors of support and a whole bunch of things on my backside. And then my last trade of the day was perfect green star with almost nothing on my backside. It was multiple factors of support, like an A plus trade literally. So you can see how I kind of regained my mental clarity and my focus and that mental stamina throughout the session. Um, I did pursue my goal to a certain extent by narrating and just trying to be clear about what I'm doing. Even if what I'm doing is wrong, at least I'm explaining it. Unfortunately, I lost the recording, but I did do that regardless. I also think I did a good job of keeping my expectations realistic. On my losing trades, I kind of knew they were losing trades. Like I kind of knew that they were subpar setups. And in two instances, trades 2 and 3, I managed to take them off before they hit my stop loss, which is huge. That's something I've been trying to work on for a long time. Is not just leaning on my stop, and instead taking trades off before they get to my stop. So while they were bad trades, I still executed them properly. Um, things I need to improve on. I think the biggest one is not trading after work. I just don't think it works. Um, maybe in very rare instances where I have a super easy day and I come home from work early and maybe I was able to do some prep on my phone on like the TradingView app and there's nothing else going on in my life and I'm not crunched for time. Maybe in rare instances I can pull off trading the close. I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never trade the close because I feel like if I say never, never trade the close, I'm kind of setting myself up for a forbidden fruit situation where it's just going to make me want to trade the close even more. So I never want to say never. I don't want to put any concrete rules in place that are going to, hinder me in the future. But at the same time, I don't want to trade the close every day. I don't want to come home from work every day and trade the close and make more work for myself and lose money and stress myself out. It's just not worth it. So, maybe in very rare instances, I could do that. Um, Another thing I need to improve on is just uh pulse checking. I need to take more mental trades. Um, I need to exercise that muscle. I need to warm up before I jump into trades. Just like I do before working out, I need to get the blood flowing through those muscles and literally warm them up before I trade. And I think trading is no exception. You have to warm up before you place actual risk. And I failed to do that today. Um, in summation, though, I think it was a pretty good session. Um, I came away roughly break even, up 3 ticks on the day. Um, but the fact that I was able to recoup those losses with a really good trade, and I don't really care about these trades. They don't like the first four trades don't affect me emotionally whatsoever. What's really cool is this last trade. It is such a good setup. And I think it's so important that I have these examples of A plus setups, um, that I can look through, and just know this is what I'm looking for. This is what edge looks like. It's slowly imprinting in my mind subconsciously what I need to look for in the future in order to hit those good trades. So setup quality, man, that's all it's about. P&L doesn't matter, emotions don't matter, um, uh, technicals don't matter, price action doesn't matter, volume doesn't matter, fundamentals don't matter. The only thing that matters in trading is just the quality of your setup. That's it. Just focus on the setup. One good trade. That's all that matters. And today was a perfect example of it. One good trade is all I needed to come away from today. Just focus on that. Focus on the setup quality. How many factors of support can I align at once to get an awesome A plus trade? That's all that matters. So that was my review for today. And on to the next one.